আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম স্যার।
ওয়ালাইকুম আসসালাম। আপনি ভালো
জি স্যার, আলহামদুলিল্লাহ। কেমন আছেন স্যার?
আছি? আলহামদুলিল্লাহ, থ্যাংক ইউ। রাজশাহীতে পরীক্ষা হবে, রাজশাহী। এই জন্য এখন কি সব ঠিক হয়েছে? ওই যে সবাই ফর্ম ফিল আপ করতে পারতেছে?
জি স্যার, এখন পারছে।
কেউ কি বাকি আছে? 43টা ছিল, ওদের নাম হয় নাই। প্রায় 300 জনের মতো বৃহস্পতিবারে খবর, আরো 43 জন বাকি ছিল। এগুলো কি এখন ছাড়ছে কিনা? এর ভিতরে কেউ আছো? সবাই কথা বলেন। ভাইরা যারা পেছে, বিশেষ করে যে এনরোল করা যায় না, পরীক্ষার ফর্ম ফিল আপে অনলাইনে করা যায় না, ওই জটিলতা কি সেরে গেছে না এখনো আছে?
স্যার, আমাদের মধ্যে যাদের প্রবলেম ছিল তাদের মোটামুটি সবার হয়ে গেছে স্যার। আর কেউ প্রবলেমে আছে এরকম স্যার জানা নেই।
আচ্ছা, আর ওই রাজশাহীতে পরীক্ষা দিলে সেকশন বি, ওখানে প্রায় 8 জনের মতো রাজশাহী পরীক্ষা সেন্টার বলবে। অনেকে দিনাজপুর থাকে, কুমিল্লা বাড়ি, রাজশাহীতে পড়ছে, রাজশাহীতে ওইভাবে তো ফিজিবিলিটি আর ইনস্টিটিউট থেকে হয়তো কিছু হেল্প করা হবে। ওই জন্য যারা পরীক্ষা দিবে ওকে
জি স্যার।
নামটা আমি একটু, বিশেষ করে রোল নাম্বারটা মনে রেখে দিন। অলরেডি 12-14 জন হয়ে গেছে পরীক্ষার্থী রাজশাহী। তো হয়তো রাজশাহীতে আমাদের তো আঞ্চলিক কার্যালয় খুলছে, 5 তারিখ উদ্বোধন। কথা শোনা যায় ওকে?
হ্যাঁ, শোনা যায় স্যার।
এই জন্য 5 তারিখে আমাদের উদ্বোধন হবে। সিটি মেয়র, খায়রুজ্জামান লিটন এবং ভিসি রাজশাহী, এনারা রাজশাহীতে প্রোগ্রাম আছে 5 তারিখ। ওই জন্য রাজশাহীতে পরীক্ষা হবে ব্যাচ স্টুডেন্টদের শুধু। আমরা প্রায় নিয়ার অ্যাবাউট 12 জন মনে হয় আমার ইয়েতে আছে সেকশন বি থেকে। এখানেও যারা আছেন, বিশেষ করে ওয়াকিল আছে এই জায়গায়, আমাদের ক্যাপ্টেন ইনক্লুডিং অন্যান্যরা ইয়ে থেকে, হয়তো কালকে এক ফাঁকে আমি ঢুকিয়ে সব নিয়ে নেব। আর আজকে সেশন আমাদের সৌর্য সিও স্যারের কাজে হয়তো 7:30টার পরে আমরা শুরু করব। এই জন্য এই আর ক্লাসে একটু মনোযোগী হয়ে 8 তারিখ পর্যন্ত ক্লাসের শিডিউল দিয়ে দিলাম। আর 9, 10, 11 অফ থাক, 12 তারিখে আবার শুরু করা যাবে। আর এরপরে একটু টেনে নেব ক্লাসগুলো। আর এমনি আমি জানি এই যে আমরা অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স যে কয়েকটা আছি, সবাই কি ঢাকায় ঈদ করবো নাকি গ্রামে যাব?
গ্রামে যাব স্যার।
ডিস্ট্রিক্ট লেভেলে, হ্যাঁ, কোরবানি ঈদ তো। তো 8 তারিখে যে রুটিনটা দিলাম, ওটা কি কোনো টাচ করবে কিনা, অসুবিধা হবে কিনা? শুক্রবারের যে রুটিনটা দিলাম, ওটা কি সমস্যাজনক নাকি না চলবে?
জি স্যার।
সমস্যা না চলবে?
শুক্রবার না দিলে ভালো।
শুক্রবার তো সুযোগ দিয়ে দিলাম আবির। আর দুই একটা ক্লাস এগুলো রেকর্ডিং ভিউ করা যায়। আগাত না 25 তারিখে, তো এই জন্য তো হবে। ঈদের পরে একটু জোরে টানবো, হয়তো দু একটা সেশন বেশি দিয়ে ক্লাসগুলো তো কমপ্লিট করতে হবে। এই জন্য থাক, আর যারা পারবেন। আর মোবাইল টোবাইলে করা যায় না? মোবাইলে কেমনি কি করে আমাদের অনেকে। যাই হোক, যেটা না সেটা হলো যে আপনারা একটা দুটা সেশনের জন্য no need to get read। আর ওইটা চলুক, বৃহস্পতিবার পর্যন্ত দেখা যাক। আর শুক্রবারে সেশন যদি এই হয় নেহায়ত একটা দুটো গেলে এত চিন্তার কারণ নাই, রেকর্ডিং আছে। আচ্ছা, আর এমনি কিছু বলার আছে কি না ওয়াকিল? কোনো সমস্যা, কোনো কিছু, কোনো এক্সপেকটেশন, চাওয়া পাওয়া, কোনো ক্লাস?
না স্যার, এমন কিছু নেই স্যার। স্যার, আমাদের কি 12 তারিখে আবার ক্লাস হবে, মানে ঈদের পর?
হ্যাঁ, 12 তারিখে শুরু করে দেই, কি বলো? মানে 12 রাখবো নাকি আরো একদিন ইয়ে করা দরকার। শুক্রবার পর্যন্ত শিডিউল দিয়ে দিলাম, 8 তারিখ পর্যন্ত একটু আগে এই কত বিকালের দিকে মনে হয় পাঠানো আছে, দেখে নিন সব।
জি স্যার।
আর 12 তারিখ শুরু করি, 9 বন্ধ, 10 বন্ধ, 11 বন্ধ, 3 দিন বন্ধ থাকলো। 12 তারিখে শুরু করি, কারণ 25 তারিখে পরীক্ষা তো।
জি স্যার, 12 তারিখে স্যার শুরু করা যায়। জি স্যার।
কাজে বেশি ছুটি হলে ক্লাসগুলো অনেকে আছে ক্লাস না করলে বুঝতে পারবেন না, আর ক্লাসের ইয়েটার 3 ঘন্টা টাইম তো, এমনি এলিজিবিলিটি চলে যায়। লেখাপড়াটা এরকম সময় চলে যায়, কিন্তু লেখাপড়া শুরু করবো এই করে আর হয় না। যা আমাদেরও তো অনেক ইয়ে, কিন্তু আপনাদের দিকে তাকিয়ে আমরা অনেক কিছু কি করি, আপনাদের কাজে লাগিয়ে ফেলি। এই জন্য দেখেন না যে শুক্র শনি তবু সবসময় দেখবেন মেল চালু আছে, হ্যাঁ, কমিউনিকেশন ইয়ে আছে। কেন? দ্য গেটার ইন্টারেস্ট অল অফ ইউ। লেখাপড়াটা তো সবসময় চালু রাখতে হয়, ক্ষতি হয়। আর অসুবিধা নাই, এমনিতে সার্টিফিকেট লেভেল এত নার্ভাস হওয়ার দরকার নাই। তবে একটা জিনিস আমি আগেও বলছিলাম যে পারলে সব সাবজেক্ট ক্লাস করতে হয়, সব সাবজেক্ট পরীক্ষা দিতে হয়। আপনারা একটা দুইটা তিনটা দেন বাঁচেন, এগুলো সার্টিফিকেট লেভেলে কম করেন। সার্টিফিকেট লেভেলে একসাথে প্রিপারেশন একসাথে দেন। অনলাইন এক্সামটা কম্পিউটার বেস পাস তো অনেক করতেছে, এবং এবারেও দেখবেন যে আপনার কি বলে যে যেটা বলছি অনেক you will also see the passing that high. আগে পাস করতো 80, 70, 50, 40, 100, 120, 283 জন পাস করছে। এবার আমরা, আমার ধারণা যেটা দেখবেন এবার 350 উপরে পাস করছে, 400 উপরে পাস করছে। কারণ এখন স্টুডেন্টস আর অলসো studying their self endeavor and to get promoted by themselves. পরিশ্রম করে একটা লেভেল প্রথমত যদি পাস হয়ে গেছে তাহলেই আপনার গেছে। তখন আপনি চাকরিতেও এত চিন্তা নাই, ফার্মে থাকলেও চলবে, আর ফিনান্সিয়াল কর্পোরেট যে কোনো ইনস্টিটিউশন অর্গানাইজেশনে গেলেও হবে। ইউ ক্যান অলসো able to bear the expenses of 6 persons during the high crisis of the regime. সার্টিফিকেটটা ওয়াকিল সহ অন্যান্য সবাই পাস করে নেন। চাকরিতে তদবির প্রয়োজন হবে না, মাস্টার্সটা থাকলে এমনি নিবে। ব্যাংকে তো সিনিয়র প্রিন্সিপাল অফিসার বা প্রিন্সিপাল অফিসার অফ এমনি যে ম্যানেজমেন্ট রিলেটেড ডেকেই নেবে। প্রথমে 70, 65 আর 60 থেকে 70-এর ভিতরে বেতন হয়, পরে 80+ হয়। আর ফার্মে থাকলেও সেখানে আপনাকে সার্টিফিকেট মিনিমাম 40,000+। ফার্ম তো নিজের ঘর, এই জন্য মূল্যের বাজারে ইউ হ্যাভ চুজেন রাইটলি অ্যান্ড প্রপারলি। কাজেই এত ঘাবড়ানোর কিছু নাই, একটু লেখাপড়া করি। যে সার্টিফিকেটটা পাস হলে আর মাস্টার ডিগ্রি কোনো মতো থাকলে আপনার কি বলে যে লাইভলিহুড এক্সপেন্সেস বা বেয়ারের জন্য চিন্তা করতে হয় না, হবে না। পরিবারকে অনেক হেল্প করতে পারবো, একটু কষ্ট করে না। আর সিসি হলে আর সার্টিফিকেটটা হলে তখন আপনি ইউ ক্যান হোপ এনি জব 80+ or near 1 লাখ। সিসিটা হয়ে গেলে, একটা লেভেল পাস হলে, মাস্টার্সটা থাকলে 1 লাখ টাকার কমে চাকরি তখন আপনি করবেন না। আর একটা লেভেল পাস করে বসে আছে কেউই নাই। ফার্মে থেকেই এখন অনেকেই আছে একটা লেভেল পাস সিসি হয়ে গেছে, 60,000, 50 থেকে 60,000 নেয়। আর ফার্ম তো আরাম আয়েসে, অনেক ফার্ম শুক্র শনিবার বন্ধ। আর ফিনান্সিয়াল কর্পোরেট সেক্টরে ওই যে বললাম ওইভাবে। তো যেটা আই অলসো carry the scenario of bearing the expenses by কিরকম যদি মাস্টার না থাকা পাওয়া বুঝি না। যে আবার একটু আমি বুঝতে পারি নাই।
স্যার বলতেছে উনি বলতেছে যে মাস্টার্স না থাকলে কি আমরা পাবো না এরকম, এটা বলতেছে স্যার।
ও আচ্ছা, মাস্টার্স না থাকলে হবে। ওই যে এখন ব্যাপারটা এই ধরনের হয়ে গেছে তো, আগে ডিগ্রি পাস ছিল, অর্থাৎ 2 years, তো এখন 4 বছরের যদি ওই ইয়েটা থাকে ফাংশন তাহলে চলবে। অর্থাৎ গ্রাজুয়েশন এখন 3 ইয়ার্স করছে, পাঁচটা, আগে 2 বছর ছিল। ওই আলোকে আমি কথা বলছি। বিবিএ এমবিএ এই ধরনের কথা ইয়েতে ওইটা আমি ক্যারি করছি যে শুধু মাস্টার্স থাকলে যারা 5 থেকে আসুক আসুক, যারা 4 বছরের চ্যাপ্টারটা ক্রস করে আসুক। আমাদের শ্রদ্ধেয় প্রধান নির্বাহী স্যার আসলে আমাকে বললেন, ওয়াকিল
জি স্যার।
আমি ইয়েতে তো এভাবে স্যার চলে আসবেন, দেখি স্যার খুঁজে পাই কিনা, ওই জন্য আমি আবার আর একটা মেরে দিই একটু। কথা যখন খোলা থাকবে না, আপনারা তখন কথা বলবেন। এই গ্রুপ স্টাডি বা সেশনের কথা এগুলো বলবেন, নিজেদের ভিতরে শেয়ার করবেন, একটা গ্রুপ তৈরি করে ফেলবেন, একটা ব্যাচের করে ফেলবেন। এত ব্যাচ, 11 ব্যাচ, একটা গ্রুপ করে রাখবেন। এই জায়গায় এই যে আছে না, যে ছাত্র দেখবেন আমি বললাম এইটাতেই 7 সাবজেক্ট, এই সেশন থেকে 10 জন হয়ে যাবে। সার্টিফিকেট লেভেল যে কয়েকটা ছাত্র আছে 7 সাবজেক্টে দেখবেন পরীক্ষা দেবে, 10টা বাড়ায় চলে যাবে, বেশিও হবে আমার ধারণা। আর সাবজেক্ট ওয়াইজ যারা করেছেন ওনারা তো হ্যাঁ, আর সাবজেক্ট ওয়াইজ যারা করেছেন ওরা ওইভাবে আসবেন, দিবেন, এটা কমপ্লিট করে। তো এই গেল। আর এত দুশ্চিন্তার কারণ নাই, একটু করেন, করে টোরে যেটা। আর আন্দাজে উত্তর দিয়েন না। বিসিএস পরীক্ষা 4 লাখ দেয়, 15,000, 15,500, কেন না জেনে উত্তর দেয়? এটা এই দিলাম, এটা বি হবে, এটা সি দিলাম, এইভাবে না, পড়ে দিত। হ্যাঁ, না পড়ে দিলে ওটা হয় না। আপনার যেখানে এটারে বলে আমাদের কনফার্মেশন, এটারে বলে আরো ভালো বলে কনফিডেন্ট। যখন কনফিডেন্ট কোনো পরীক্ষায় না আসে, অর্থাৎ কনফিডেন্সি বলে, যখন is not raised on any exam, you think yourself that you are actually not eligible or I think not success there. পরীক্ষা দিয়ে মানসিক শান্তি যদি যে জায়গায় গ্রো না হয়, আমরা তো পরীক্ষা দিয়ে কলম লেখাপড়া আছে, ওই আলোকে কথা বলা বলছি যে পরীক্ষা দিয়ে কনফিডেন্ট মানসিক একটা হলে সেই জায়গায় বুঝতে পারবেন যে রেজাল্ট আপনার ভালো হচ্ছে। পরীক্ষা দিয়ে বোঝা যায় তো যে আমি পরীক্ষা ভালো দিলাম না খারাপ। সেই জন্য মাই ডিয়ার ইউ অল, ইউ আর অলসো প্র্যাকটিসিং, এক্সারসাইজিং মোর। এই ইয়াং বয়সে সুন্দর লেখাপড়া করছেন, আরো করবেন, আরো আগাবেন, অসুবিধা নাই। ডিগনিফাইড আপনার ডিগ্রি কোয়ালিফিকেশন লাভ হচ্ছে। once upon and no need to you get to read any moment, কোনো মুহূর্তে হতাশ হবেন না, ভালো ইয়েতে আছে। যে লেভেলটা পাস হোক, সিসিটা হোক, আর যতই চাকরি বাকরির টানাপোড়েন চলুক, আপনার বেকারত্ব থাকবে না। তো মে আল্লাহ ব্লেস আস। এই গেল। আর ওকিল দাদা,
জি স্যার। স্যার
আমরা আজকে যে সেশনটা একটু করি, সেটা হলো কি, আজ 4th রাউন্ড। আর এগুলো সব দেখলাম, বিভিন্ন আর্টিকেল, বিভিন্ন স্যারের রিটার্ন।
জি স্যার।
আমাদের সিনপসিসটার নাম হচ্ছে রিটার্ন অফ ইনকাম। এখানে যে দেওয়া, এটা একটু তুলে রেখেন সবাই, সুন্দর করে একটু দেখে রেখেন, আর সেশনটা করে ফেলেন। আর ইনশাল্লাহ দেখা হবে কালকে, তো অফিস ডে। ইনশাল্লাহ চেষ্টা করব এক পাক ঢুকে ওই যে একটা ইনফরমেশন, এক্সামের জটলাটা হয়তো কেটে গেছে আমার ধারণা, ওটা ওয়াকিফাল করব আমরা। তো কাজেই আল্লাহ ভরসা। আর ভালো থাকি। টেক কেয়ার টু দ্য হেলথ উইথ ইউর স্টিম ফ্যামিলি মেম্বার্স, and you also all, সকলে শরীর আগে, আর যেখানেই থাকি হাসি খুশি থাকবো, পরিবারের সাথে মিলেমিশে থাকবো, যে কয়দিনই পৃথিবীতে থাকি ভালো থাকবো, এই আর কি। আমি বিদায় নিব। আমাদের শ্রদ্ধ স্যার মনে হয় আসছেন 3:35, 7:35। তো আমি রিকোয়েস্ট রেখে হ্যান্ড ওভার করে চলে যাব। ওয়াকিল, ইউ গুড অ্যান্ড ট্যালেন্টেড গাই ইনক্লুডিং অল, একটু সরব থাকবো,
জি স্যার।
তার সাথে কথাবার্তা বলবো, নিয়ে নিব। যদি ইংরেজিতে একটু জড়তা চলে আসে বাংলায় বলবো, অসুবিধা নাই, স্যার উইল কমপ্লিট। আর এমন ভাবে প্রিপারেশন নেই, অলরেডি ইউ appeared at the exam, that means admission for exam, taxation, others, অন্যান্য সব সাবজেক্টের প্রতি গুরুত্ব আরোপ করব। তো আমি এই পর্যন্তই, আর আল্লাহ ব্লেস আস। আমি মোট করছি, স্যারের দিকে হয়তো হ্যান্ড ওভারে যাবো। স্যার সম্ভবত চলে আসছেন।
জি স্যার, চলে এসেছেন।
হ্যাঁ, থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। মাই ডিয়ার ইউ অল, স্যার, আই এম ইউর হালিম স্যার, and you may kindly come and just to start your valuable guidance, sir, please. Adab, sir.
Hello.
We are saying you, thank you very much, sir. And you may kindly start the session. Today, actually, fourth round and return of income. By this time, we have sent the concern synopsis, and the students are also aware of and getting preparation also. Wakil, অন্যান্যরা সবাই
জি স্যার।
আমাদের শ্রদ্ধা অভিভাবক, আমাদের সম্মানিত স্যার, সামনে আমরা শুরু করি as usual. Thank you.
জি স্যার, আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
বিদায় নিলাম, অনুমতি নিলাম, আর শুরু করেন। আদাব স্যার, আদাব।
Adab. Okay. So, good evening to everybody.
গুড ইভিনিং স্যার।
গুড ইভিনিং স্যার।
Good evening. Welcome to this session. And I hope that you got the handout. But can you please tell me what the handout is all about? What is said there? Any idea?
স্যার, রিটার্ন অফ ইনকাম স্যার।
Return of income.
জি স্যার।
And
Yes,
then
And then some sections are also here. Section 75, section 77,
yes,
78, 79, 80, 81, 82, section 82BB, 83, 84, and 93.
good. So all these sections have to be discussed. And all these sections are very important for you to know. First of all, return of income. That means you have to submit a return of your income. So when you are an individual associate, you know when you have to submit the return. So it is the tax day by which you have to submit the return. Tax day means
So 30th November.
30th November is the tax day currently. So you have to submit the return by 30th November of the assessment year. And if you do not submit the return by the 30th day of November of the assessment year, then you are at default. So an assessee must not be at default. He must be compliant with the rules and regulations. That means you have to follow what is said in section 75. When the income year ends, that means the income year ends on the 30th day of June. So that is the last day of the income year. So the following day, that is the 1st of July, you have got the option to submit your return. You can do it on 1st of July, you can do it anytime in the month of July, in the month of September, in the month of October, in the month of November. But 30th day of November is the last day on which you have to submit the return. After that, you are not supposed to submit the return. So you have to be compliant with that. Okay. But you can say that, okay, I could not submit my return because of some unavoidable circumstances. So that's why, what should I do? In that case, before the tax expires, you can apply to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for extension of the time. Extension of the time means you will seek for an extension, maybe for 1 month, or maybe for 2 months, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 4 months, like that. But the maximum period of extension that could be granted to you is 4 months. But the DCT cannot do it himself. He has to seek the approval of the inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes or inspecting Additional Commissioner of Taxes. And then he will allow you to submit the return after certain period. That means if it is for a period of more than 2 months, then this is with the approval of the inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes. But if it is within 2 months, then the DCT can allow you the extension himself. So this you have to know. If you cannot submit the return within the specified time, that is 30th day of November, in that case, you have to seek approval of the DCT for submitting the return late. And DCT has got the power to extend the period for 2 months. But if you need more time, then you can seek the approval of the inspecting Joint Commissioner of Taxes. But that time is also for 2 months. That means in all, you have 4 months time to submit your return after the tax date. So this time, that is currently the tax day is on the 30th day of November, but earlier this was 15th day of September, and sometimes it was 30th day of September. So those were the tax days before, but nowadays it is different. And if you submit the return under Section 75, actually, you will not be issued a notice under Section 75. In order to submit the return, this is as per the Income Tax Ordinance 1984. So whenever you are liable to pay taxes or you have the taxable income, then you have to submit the return. So when you have the taxable income, it means that you have to cross the general exemption limit. General exemption limit, let us take it for example, 3 lakhs of taka. Up to 3 lakhs of taka, an individual is not supposed to submit the return. And if you cross the limit, that means if you cross the amount of 3 lakh, then you can submit the return or you are liable to submit the return. So that is the normal provision. And if you submit the return within that time, it is without any obligation on your part. That means you don't have to pay any penalty or you don't have to pay any other compensation for that. You can get the benefits. Benefit means you can have the benefits of self-assessment scheme. If you want to submit the return within the tax day, it means that you can avail of the opportunity of self-assessment scheme, meaning that you can determine your total income. You can also calculate your tax. And while you submit that to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, he will accept it. And a receipt will be issued to you, and that receipt will be treated as an assessment order. So you don't have to face any hassle. That's the benefit of submitting the return under the self-assessment scheme. But if you do not submit the return under self-assessment scheme, it means that you are submitting a return under the normal scheme. And if it is under the normal scheme, then you will be issued a notice under section 79 and 83(1) by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes in order for you to submit some documents, evidences in support of your income to him. And also, he may require you to appear in person for hearing. So these are the hassles you have to face. But if you submit the return under self-assessment scheme, that is okay for you. Okay, sorry. I had to talk to our Chittagong office. So what we were discussing is that an individual who is supposed to hello. পরে করছি। Section 75 has got some benefits, what I have mentioned to you, because you can submit the return under the self-assessment scheme, and this is hassle-free. And whatever income you determine for yourself, that is the final income, and you pay taxes on that. In that case, it will be wholly accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And the receipt would be given to you, which will be treated as the assessment order. Now, if you do not submit the return under section under section 75, as has been enumerated in the Income Tax Ordinance 1984, then what happens? Say the tax day has expired. 30th November has expired. In that case, you can submit the return under section 77 if you want to. Or the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes could issue a notice under section 77 asking you to submit the return within a specified date as mentioned in the notice. So 77, when a notice is issued under section 77, the DCT will do that, and DCT will specify the time within which or by which you have to submit the return. So the notice could be issued only after the tax day. That means up to tax day, he cannot issue that notice. After tax day, that is 1st of December, from that day, he would be able to issue that notice. And now the question is, for how long he would be able to issue the notice? He would be able to issue the notice during the whole assessment year. And the last day of issuance of the notice would be on the 30th day of June of the assessment year. So that is the last day on which he can also issue the notice. So after the 30th day of June, he cannot issue that notice. That means under section 77, the notice cannot be issued. Did you want to, did somebody want to tell something? Anybody wishing to ask any question?
No, sir.
Okay, somebody raised hand. Okay, so when notice under section 77 is issued, you have got the time to submit the return. But here, the issuance of notice is the most important thing, because issuance of notice could be made by the DCT up to a certain time, not after a certain time. That means 30th day of June of the assessment year would be the last day for issuance of the notice. Say, for example, the assessment year, one assessment year has already expired, 30th day of June. Today is the 2nd of July. And 30th day of June was the last day of the assessment year. So for the assessment year 21-22, the DCT could issue notice under section 77 on 30th day of June. That was possible for him. But he could also issue the notice before that time, but after the tax day. Any day after the tax day and up to the 30th day of June of the assessment year. That was the time up to which the DCT was able to issue the notice. But now let us suppose that an assessee failed to submit the return. And notice was not issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Sometimes Deputy Commissioner of Taxes fails to issue notice because of, his negligence to duty, or it might be he cannot find time in order to issue notice to everybody who has not submitted the return. So that's why he could not issue a notice, but the assessment year has already expired, and now another assessment year has come in. So if somebody has not submitted the return for the assessment year 21-22, 2021 and 2022, then what would happen? What the DCT can do? DCT now cannot issue any notice under Section 77. It is not possible for him to issue that notice. So he has to issue another notice. What is that notice? And that notice should be under Section 93. If he wants to issue a notice for a return of an individual for the assessment year 2021 and 2022, in that case, he has to issue a notice under Section 93. That is now, if today he wants to issue a notice, that should be under Section 93, asking the SSC to submit the return for the assessment year 2021-2022. That is possible. So you have to know that the first scenario would be submitting the return under Section 75 without any notice. Second scenario is submission of the return under Section 77, but the notice has to be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. But if you can also submit the return on your own without having any notice issued from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and then the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, this is the third scenario, can issue a notice under Section 93(1), asking you to submit the return for the assessment year 2021-2022. So these are the three scenarios you have to remember. And what is also said in the synopsis about the submission of the return under Section 78. So when an SSC is supposed to submit a return under Section 78, this is actually submitted by an SSC when he finds any incorrect information or misinformation which has come to his notice afterwards. Afterwards means afterwards the submission of the return under Section 75 or 77 or 93, whatever it is. And if he finds that something has escaped the return of income, that means he did not mention one income maybe, or he did not correctly mention the allowance, or he did not correctly mention the rate of tax, etc. in the return, in that case, he can rectify it. So that should be done under Section 78. So a revised return could be submitted by the SSC. That is possible. So these are the scenarios here with regard to the submission of the return and the revised return. And as I said to you, that when you submit the return under Section 75, there is no question that you will be asked by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to appear before him for hearing. Generally, it is not. But if you have submitted the return under Section 77, of course, the DCT will issue a notice under Section 79 and under Section 83(1). So under Section 79, the DCT can ask you to submit some evidences, bank statement, books of accounts, etc. for submission, so that he can verify all those and can match it with your returned income. That is what is necessary for the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for examination. And under Section 83, he can also ask you to appear before him in person, or you can appear before him through a representative for personal hearing, or if he wants to know something from your mouth, that is also possible by issuing a notice under section 83(1). And afterwards, when the hearing is complete, you can appear before the DCT once or twice or thrice, whatever it is. Afterwards, when the DCT completes the hearing, then he will make an assessment order. And that assessment order would be made under section 83(2). And then he will be issuing an assessment order, which is called IT-88. The assessment order is called IT-88, and a demand notice and a challan. Demand notice, wherein you will find the amount of tax, what is demanded of you by the DCT. And afterwards, a challan. Challan means if there is any outstanding amount of tax which has not been submitted or deposited by you already, the rest amount would have to be paid by you through the challan into the government treasury or into a bank which actually conducts treasury functions. So that is the usual way of doing it. So when an assessment is made under section 83(2), the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes if receives any grievances from the SSC, that means if the SSC is aggrieved with the assessment order made by the DCT, in that case he may be advised, or he can on his own submit an appeal. That means prefer an appeal to the Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes or Appellate Additional Commissioner of Taxes, whoever he is, against the order made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. That means he is not satisfied with the assessment made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and he will ask for redress of his grievances from the appellate authority. So the appellate authority can hear his case. That means they will also examine the documents produced by the SSC. And if they are satisfied that there are sufficient reasons for the grievances of the SSC against the assessment order, in that case, they can address those issues and can direct the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes to revise the assessment order under section 156. That means the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would have to revise the assessment order according to the instructions or directions given by the appellate authority. And here, one point is important. When the DCT revises the order under section 156, he does it, but he has also got the option to prefer an appeal against the decision given by the appellate authority before the appellate tribunal. So appellate tribunal is also a forum wherein you will see one president and 2 or 3 members. One member might be an accountant member, another member might be a judicial member, something like that. So this is a forum consisting of one president and 1 or 2 or 3 members. And the departmental representative is also there, which is called DR. The departmental representative means who is representing the department on behalf of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. That means he will fight against the SSC, and he will try to protect the government revenue. So it is his function. So the tribunal authority, they can also issue a directive to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes in order to revise the assessment order. So if they pass an order favoring the SSC, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would have to revise it under section 159. So this is the section which the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would take into cognizance for revision of the assessment order. And the order of the tribunal, that is almost final in every case. But there are exceptions, of course. If the tribunal order goes against the SSC, that means the taxpayer, the SSC can go to the High Court. But there are some limitations. Limitations means if there is a law point to contest, that means if the SSC has got a law point to contest, in that case only he can go to the High Court. But if the point is not relating to law, rather that is a fact, in that case he cannot go to the High Court. So for factual cases, the tribunal is the highest authority against whom no appeal could be made. But if there are law points, in those cases, the taxpayer or the SSC can go to the High Court Division of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh. So these you have to remember all the time. When a law point is involved, in that case, an SSC would go to the High Court Division. But when law point is not involved, rather factual points are there, then the SSC cannot go to the High Court Division of the Supreme Court. So he has to accept the order of the tribunal. And the assessment order is revised by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes under section 159. So the SSC should pay the taxes, whatever would be determined by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes following the instructions of the tribunal. So that you have to remember all the time. And assessment under 83.2, that is after hearing, after examination of the documents or bank statements or evidences, etc., and the books of accounts have to be produced by the SSC before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and he can examine the books of accounts, and he has to match the returned income with the books of accounts, that is the net profit that has been calculated through the books of accounts, that means profit and loss account. So that is a thorough examination made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for making an assessment. So this is the usual procedure, as could be said by us, but sometimes you see the SSC is not a compliant one. So if he is not in compliant, is a compliant one, it means that although notices were issued to him, he did not appear before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for hearing, or he did not submit proper evidences or documents. In that case, the DCT will proceed for the assessment, and he cannot make the assessment under section 83. Rather, he has to make the assessment under section 84. 84 means assessment to be made on the basis of the best judgment, or you can say best judgment assessment. So it does not mean that the DCT will make an assessment on his whim. That means he can do anything, or he can enhance the assessment as per his decision without any basis It's not like that. 84 means it should be a judicious assessment. Judicious assessment means you have to make the assessment basing on some information or on some evidential supports, meaning that you can depend on the past record of the assessment. Past record of the SSC means an assessment was completed in the previous year through hearing, and the total income was calculated at taka, maybe say for example 20 lakhs, and the SSC did not contest against the determination of that income. If it is so, then this year you can say that taka 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs, whatever it was in the previous year, since it was not contested. So that's why the similar income could have been earned by the SSC. So that should be a judicious assessment. That means consulting the past record. We have consulted the past record and we have come to a decision that the SSC's income was determined at taka 40 lakh for the previous assessment year, and the SSC did not go for preferring an appeal against it. So we can safely say that the determination of income at taka 40 lakh would be justified this year as well. So that should be the basis, and basis should be fair basis, not unfair basis. But if the DCT makes the assessment without any basis, that will be treated as a misconduct on the part of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So when he commits any misconduct, it means that he can be asked for an explanation by the National Board of Revenue, and administrative action could be taken against him. That is also possible. And when administrative action has been taken against the DCT, it means that the DCT would not be able to secure any other promotion in future. That means he cannot have promotion in future. He cannot be promoted to the higher positions. So there could be some restrictions, or there could be some restrictions as, say, his increments would be held up for next 3 years. That is also possible, and this is also a punishment. So if such a punishment is given to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, it means that it will actually be treated as a red mark in his career. So these actions could be taken by the National Board of Revenue in case of a Deputy Commissioner of Taxes who does not apply his judicious judgment while making the assessment of an SSC. So this is section 84. And if you go for further, you have to understand how the procedure of assessment actually followed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Now let us see in the Income Tax Ordinance what is said about 84. So here, if you go through the text, Income Tax Ordinance 1984, it is said here where any person fails to file the return required by notice under section 77 and has not filed a return or revised return under section 78, or to comply with the requirements of a notice under section 79 or 80, or to comply with the requirements of a notice under section 83(1). The Deputy Commissioner of Taxes shall, by an order in writing, assess the total income of the assessee to the best of his judgment and determine the sum payable by the assessee on the basis of such assessment, and communicate such order to the assessee within 30 days next following. So here one point, when assessment under section 84 will be made, when notice under section 77 was issued, but the assessee did not comply with that, and he has not submitted the return or revised return under section 78, and then he did not comply with a notice under section 79 and a notice under section 80. So here, notice under section 80 is important for you to know. What is section 80? Section 80 is a notice asking you to submit your statement of assets and liabilities. So you need to submit a statement of asset and liabilities. Video. An individual has got assets and liabilities, and this is sometimes called statement of assets and liabilities, sometimes called statement of wealth statement, and sometimes called IT10B. Where it is called IT10B? It is actually known to the income tax people, those people who deal with income tax. Among the officers, among the practitioners, they know that this is IT10B. But for general people, you can better say the statement of assets and liabilities or the wealth statement. So when do you need to submit the wealth statement? That has to be known to you, not always. If your income is not high, that means your income is up to 4 lakh taka, and you don't have gross wealth more than 40 lakhs taka. If you don't have gross wealth exceeding taka 40 lakh, then you don't have to submit the wealth statement. But if you have a gross wealth exceeding taka 40 lakhs for any income year, then you have to submit the wealth statement. That is mandatory on your part. If you do not submit, then the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would issue a notice under section 80 asking you to submit the wealth statement. So let us see what is said in section 80. So in 80, it is said, every individual assessee, being resident Bangladeshi, shall furnish in the forms and manners as prescribed a statement in respect of all assets and liabilities of the person or the spouse, minor children and dependents of the person, as on the last date of the income year, if the person has in the last date of the income year a gross wealth exceeding taka 40 lakh, or owns a motor car, or has made an investment in a house property or an apartment in the city corporation area. So what is there? Has in the last date of income year a gross wealth exceeding taka 40 lakh. If you had a gross wealth exceeding taka 40 lakh, then you are supposed to submit the wealth statement. If you own a motor car, you have to submit the wealth statement. And if you have made an investment in a house property or an apartment in the city corporation area, if you have an apartment or a house property in the city corporation area, wherever it is, city corporation means maybe Dhaka City Corporation, Chittagong City Corporation, Khulna City Corporation, Mymensingh City Corporation, Barisal, Sylhet. If you own a house or if you own an apartment, in that case, you need to submit the wealth statement. Every individual assessee who under subsection 1 is not required to submit the statement may voluntarily submit the statement. It is also said here that even if you are not required to submit the wealth statement mandatorily, you can submit it voluntarily. So you can now ask me, why should I submit the wealth statement voluntarily when it is not mandatory on my part? A question may come to your mind.
Yes, sir. Why, sir?
Why? Just I give you one example. You are working with a company and you are drawing a salary of taka, say 30,000 per year, per month. So if you draw a salary of 30,000 taka per month, it means your yearly income is 3,60,000. But it is exceeding the general exemption limit. Since it exceeds the general exemption limit, you have to submit the return, but you are not supposed to submit the wealth statement. So let us suppose you are a bachelor and you are living in an apartment sharing with others. That means you are living in a shared accommodation and you are having food through a common kitchen. That means you are sharing food as well. So your expenditure per month, 15,000 taka. The rest of the amount you can save. So 30,000 taka, but you spend 15,000 taka. So your saving is 15,000 taka. And that 50,000 taka, if you calculate for the whole year, it means 1,80,000 taka you have got as your saving. So this is your legal money. If you just save that amount of money for 5 years, how much do you save? 1,80,000 times 5. That means 9 lakh taka. So this 9 lakh taka you can save and show in the wealth statement as your saving. That you can utilize in future for buying any share, security, or any asset, or whatever it is, or for any expenditure, if needed. So this is the legal money. And if you show in the wealth statement every year, saving taka 15,000 and per month, and for the whole year, 1,80,000. In that case, this saving would be treated as a legal saving, and it would be treated as has been accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So after 5 years, if you show it for any investment purpose that you have actually booked an apartment and gave 9 lakh taka as booking money, that will be accepted. Or if you buy some shares of a company for that amount, 9 lakh, it will also be accepted that the source of that investment has been accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So that would be your benefit. Since you submitted the return, submitted the wealth statement, although this was not mandatory on your part, you submitted voluntarily, and you saved an amount of taka which you are now showing. If you had not shown that amount of money as saving, but you claim that I saved taka 9 lakh from my salary and I have purchased the shares with that amount. So DCT could have asked you the evidence that you showed that money, you saved that money. So he would ask you an explanation as to your expenditure, as to your saving, as to your income, everything he would have asked for from you. So showing that amount through wealth statement to the DCT will definitely help you claim an amount of taka 9 lakhs after 5 years while needed. So benefit lies there. Is it okay for you? You understood or not? Okay, let us go to the next point. Every individual assessee whose total income does exceed 4 lakh taka as on the last date of the income year shall furnish in the forms and manners as prescribed a statement of expenses relating to the lifestyle of the person. So here also, when your income exceeds 4 lakh taka, you have to submit the statement of expenditure, and that is part of the wealth statement. And this is in relation to the lifestyle you are maintaining. Again, the important point here is every individual assessee being a shareholder director of a company shall furnish, irrespective of total income, in the forms and manners as prescribed, a statement of expenses relating to the lifestyle of the person. So when there is a shareholder director of a company, he is also supposed to submit a statement of expenses relating to the lifestyle of himself. So this is also a part of the wealth statement, and wherein expenditure is shown. Where any statement as mentioned in subsection 1 or in subsection 5 is not submitted by a person being an individual, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes may require by notice in writing to submit the same by the person within the time as mentioned in the notice. So whenever you are supposed to submit the statement, that is wealth statement or statement of expenses, whatever it is, and you do not submit it, in that case, the DCT can issue a notice under section 80 asking you to submit the same within the specified date as mentioned in the notice. So this is, the requirement of section 80. So I have actually said to you about the gross wealth. When the gross wealth exceeds 40 lakhs of taka, what do you understand by gross wealth? What
Sir,
is,
my personal total assets.
yes, your total asset is the gross wealth. So what is reflected in the statement of assets and liabilities? Your total asset is reflected, your total liability is also reflected. And you have the net wealth. Net wealth is there. Net wealth, how to calculate? After deducting the total liability from the total asset, you get the net wealth. So that is reflected in the wealth statement. And again, you have to show the expenditure of the whole year, expenditure for your livelihood, and also the expenditure which you have incurred already for the maintenance of your family members. That means the dependent people on you, and you have to show their expenditure as well, that you have actually incurred the expenditure on their behalf. All these have to be shown in the wealth statement. And there is a term which is called net accretion. So the net accretion is actually calculated by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes while making the assessment. And how to do that? Net accretion. And why is it necessary? Accretion, by accretion, what do you mean? Accretion means increase. By how much it has increased, there is accretion. So when there is a net wealth this year, and you had net wealth of the previous year, so if you compare between the two, it means that if your net wealth in the previous year was less than the net wealth of this year, what does it mean? It means that your net wealth this year has increased by some amount. So this is called accretion. So when there is an accretion like that, that is taken into account by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes while making the assessment. So if there is an accretion between the two net wealths, it means that you have spent some money, or you have invested some money for assets, or you have made a payment of liability. So if you have increased your asset, that means you have bought the asset. So when you have bought the asset, it means that you spent that money. That means you made the payment for the asset. So how did you make the payment? You made the payment only with your income. So if you had your income, then you could make the payment, otherwise you could not. So it is very natural whenever you have increased your wealth, meaning that you have made the payment, you have received income, and that's why you had been able to make the payment. Or if liability decreases means you have paid off the liability. So how did you pay off the liability? You paid off the liability
From my
with
income,
your income. Otherwise, you could not pay it off. But if liability increases, it means that you have received some money. That is a source of your fund. You got some money from a particular source. That could be from a bank, that could be from a non-banking financial institution, that could be from an individual. You just got some money, but it has become your liability. You have to pay it later on. However, this is a source of fund, and you can utilize the fund for buying any other asset, property, etc. So whenever there is an accretion in the net wealth, it means that you have invested some money, or you have paid off some liabilities, and that's why you had some more income. It could be covered by the income you have earned this year, but it may not cover that one. That is, your earned income may not cover everything. That means whatever you have bought, whatever you have expended, that means you have spent. So whenever the assessment is made, the city will take into account two net worths. This year's net worth. Say, for example, this year's net wealth is 50 lakhs of taka. And the previous year's net wealth was 40 lakh of taka. So he will just find out the difference. The difference is 10 lakh taka. So 10 lakh taka should have been in your income this year. 10 lakh taka plus the expenditure you have made. Your expenditure, let us suppose that the annual expenditure of your family stood at 5 lakh taka. So the difference 10 lakh taka and taka 5 lakh, it is 15 lakh taka. So your income should cover that. Otherwise, if your income is less, say for example, your accretion is 10 lakh and your expenditure is 5 lakh, which is 15 lakhs taka. And now the DCT sees that your income for this assessment year, current assessment year, is taka 10 lakh. So how did you get to the rest of the figure, that is 5 lakh taka? That should be explained to the DCT by you. He will ask the assessee, how did you get that money? That is 15 lakhs taka. How did you cover with your income? Your income is less than that. So how is it possible? You might have another source of income which you have not shown. So what he will do? He will just treat the income of 5 lakh taka as income from other source under section 33. That means he will treat that income as income from other source, not from your regular source or not from the source you have shown. So that is the way of calculating the accretion and also the income from other source if needed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So is it clear to you or not?
Yes, sir, clear.
Good. Now let us see section 79. 79, production of accounts and documents. I just mentioned some of them, but what the section actually says is that the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes may, by notice in writing, require a person who has filed a return under Chapter 8 or to whom a notice has been issued to file a return to produce or cause to be produced such accounts, statements, documents, data, or electronic records not being earlier than 3 years prior to the income year as he may consider necessary for the purpose of audit or assessment under this ordinance. So remember here what is said. When the assessee has filed a return, so he might have filed a return under section 77 or 78 or 93, whatever it is, but not under section 75. So he may be issued a notice under section 79. Otherwise, there is one condition here, you remember, or to whom a notice has been issued to file a return. That means the assessee has not filed a return, but a notice has been issued to him for filing a return. In that case also, the DCT can issue a notice under section 79. That is also possible. So if you are asked in the examination that whether notice under section 79 could be issued only in case of assessees who have submitted their returns, is it true or it is false. So from this section, this is clear that the assessees who have submitted their returns under section 77, 78, 93, they could be issued a notice to submit documents, statements, etc. under section 79. But whenever the assessee has submitted a return under section 75, then this notice could not be issued. But that should be under self-assessment scheme. And again, when notice has been issued by the DCT to the assessee for submission of the return, but he has not submitted the return, still he may be issued a notice under section 79 by the DCT. That is also possible. So the section actually says that. It is important to note. The Deputy Commissioner of Taxes may specify in the notice that the accounts, statements, documents, data, or electronic records, or any part thereof, shall be produced in such electronic form or by such electronic media as may be mentioned in the notice. So the documents, evidences, statements, etc., could be produced manually or could be produced electronically if it is asked for. And the DCT can also mention the mode through which the documents could be submitted electronically. That would also be mentioned. The accounts, statements, documents, data, or electronic records shall be produced on or before the date, as may be specified in the notice. So in the notice under section 79, the date of submission of the documents should be mentioned. Generally, 21 days is given to the assessees in order for them to submit the statements, documents, etc. So the date has to be mentioned in the notice. So this is section 79. And if you go to section 83(1), that is also required by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. But what is actually said there? 83(1).
Sir, may we take a break for 20 minutes?
How many minutes?
Sir, 20 minutes.
Okay, you can take a break. Then after you come back from the break, we discuss 83(1) and 83(2).
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, I think everybody is back.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let us discuss 83.1. That is subsection 1 of section 83. Assessment after hearing. Meaning that assessment will be made after hearing is taken by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Where a return or revised return has been filed under Chapter 8 and the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is not satisfied without requiring the presence of the person who filed the return or the production of evidence that the return is correct and complete, he shall serve on such a person a notice requiring him on a date to be therein specified to appear before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or to produce or cause to be produced before him or at his office any evidence in support of the return. So here it is said that when the return is submitted and the income is shown in the return, if the decedent is not satisfied with the return submitted by the SSC, that means the income shown in the return as submitted by the SSC, he will require the person to appear before him or he can ask him to produce documents or other evidences in support of the income, what he showed in his return, or he can produce the documents through his representative. That's why it has been said, cause to be produced. Cause to be produced before him or at his office. So cause to be produced, that means indirect. He can produce the documents through his legal representatives, ITP, chartered accountant, cost accountant, advocate, etc. And subsection 2 of section 83 said, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes shall, after hearing the person appearing or considering the evidence produced in pursuance of the notice under subsection 1 and also considering such other evidence, if any, as he may require on specified points by an order in writing, assess within 30 days after the completion of the hearing or consideration, as the case may be, the total income of the SSC and determine the sum payable by him on the basis of such assessment, and communicate the order to the SSC within 30 days next following. So, if the DCT needs any specific points to clarify, that means if there are some specific points which the DCT wants to know from the SSC, he can just issue a notice in writing asking for the clarification of the points. And after consideration of those points produced by the SSC, he will assess the income of the SSC and he will determine the sum payable by him as tax on that income. So that is the section under which the assessment is made, that is 83.2. And 83.1 is, of course, that is notice asking for evidences, etc. So this is all about 83.1.2. And the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, he is making the assessment under section 83, but he can make an assessment under section 82, which is called assessment on correct return. Under section 82 means the SSC, whatever he has submitted along with his return and the income he has shown in the return, that has been treated as correct and complete. So there is nothing which the DCT will require him to submit after that. So if the DCT is satisfied that the return submitted by the SSC and the evidences or documents produced along with them are correct and complete, in that case, he will make the assessment on the basis of the return submitted by the SSC. He will not issue a notice under section 79 or 83(1), whatever it is. So this is called assessment on correct return. So for example, the SSC is an employee of an organization and he has showed his income as per the salary certificate. It was also the similar amount in the previous year, and now the SSC has submitted the return in line with the previous year's return, but maybe a little bit income could be increased because of the increment, annual increment. So since the certificate has been produced along with the return and bank statement has been produced, so DCT will assess it without requiring the person to appear before him. That means he does not need any other evidence to be produced. So this is called assessment on correct return. And afterwards, 82BB, which is called universal self-assessment. So what is universal self-assessment? You can actually go through it, the section. Everything is said here. Where an SSC files a return of income mentioning 12-digit taxpayer's identification number. So it means that the SSC has to have a 12-digit taxpayer's identification number in compliance with the conditions and within the time specified in section 75. As we discussed previously, the time specified in section 75, that is the 30th day of November, by which the return has to be submitted. But if this date is extended by the National Board of Revenue, you have to submit the return within the extended date. So in the previous year, what happened? 30th day of November, that is the tax day, was extended to 31st of December. It was because of the pandemic situation that the National Board of Revenue extended the time of submission of return. That means the tax day was extended. So if the SSC submits the return within the date, that is 30th November, or as specified or extended by the National Board of Revenue, and pays tax in accordance with the provisions of section 74 and pays tax, that means he has to pay the taxes. He cannot keep any tax outstanding. So tax has to be paid in full. Under section 74 means, if I ask you what is admitted liability, that might be a question. What is admitted liability? Admitted liability is the tax you have paid under section 74, and it should be on the basis of the income you have shown in the return. If your income is 20 lakhs taka and your payment of tax is the full amount of tax that could be imposed on 20 lakhs taka, let us suppose on 20 lakhs taka, your income would be 60,000, for example. This is not actual, but maybe this is an example. If the full amount of tax on 20 lakhs taka is 60,000, and if you pay taxes at taka 60,000 and submits the return within the specified date, that is the day which is called tax day, then it could be treated as a return which has been submitted under the universal self-assessment scheme, that is under section 82BB. So section 74, sometimes not the full amount of tax, but because you have already paid taxes under section 64, there was some installments which you fulfilled. That is, you have got 4 installments in the income year for the payment of taxes. What are the 4 installments? The 4 installments are 15th July, 15th September, 15th December, 15th March, and 15th June. So these are the 4 dates on which you have to pay the installments. The first installment is due on 15th September. Another installment is due on 15th December. Another installment is due on 15th March. And the last installment due is on 15th June. So these are the 4 dates you are supposed to pay taxes on the basis of the previous assessment. That is the previous assessed tax. And there should be some taxes which were deducted at source. So if the total amount of money, that means the tax deducted at source and the payment you have already paid under advance payment system. So all these would be equal to the actual amount of tax to be paid on the income. But if there is a shortfall, that has to be paid under section 74. That means the remaining amount which you could not pay before has to be paid now when you submit the return. In that case, he shall be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or any other official authorized by him an acknowledgement of receipt of the return, and such acknowledgement shall be deemed to be an order of assessment of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So whenever you submit the return under the self-assessment scheme, notice, not notice, actually an acknowledgement receipt. An acknowledgement receipt would be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or by any other official authorized in this behalf by the DCT. So that receipt would be treated as your assessment order. Okay, but there might be some differences between the actual amount of tax to be paid by the SOC and the amount that has already been deposited. In that circumstance, the DCT will ask for the payment of the rest amount of the money. So here, subsection 3 of section 82BB, it has been said here that where the process of return results in a difference in the amount of income, tax, or other material figures than the amount mentioned in the return file under subsection 1, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes shall serve a notice to the SSC. What is that? Because you have submitted one evidence wherein your income is different from the income you have shown in the return, or the amount of tax that you have shown in your return is different from the calculation that you have made on a piece of paper or on the document you submitted along with the return. In that case, the DCT will communicate him about the difference and enclosing with the notice a sheet of computation of income, tax, refund, or other related particulars that resulted from the process of return. So he will actually communicate with the SSC, showing the calculation of income and tax, etc. And he will be given an opportunity to explain his position in writing within the time specified in the notice, where the process of return results in additional liability or in reduction of refund, as the case may be. So the SSC will be required to give his understanding, that means his statement in writing, whether the process of process of return results in additional liability or reduction in refund. So he has to explain it. And he can also submit an amended return. That is also possible, and that opportunity could be given to him. And after receiving the statement in writing from the assessee, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would accept it. Or if there is a need of amended return, the assessee can also submit the amended return, and that will also be accepted by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes if the difference amount of tax is paid by the assessee. But here you see only one thing is important for you. The board may sometimes audit the self-assessment scheme submitted, self-assessment returns submitted by the assessees. And that can actually do that on a random basis, and can just find out whether the income shown by the assessee is correct and complete. So there could be an audit with regard to the income. Sometimes it happens, but not always, and it is actually done on random basis, not for all the returns submitted. So this should be the universal self-assessment scheme, although there are other provisions here, but generally you have to know up to what we have discussed. Then come to the section 93. 93 is, of course, important. We just touched on that point beforehand, and we said that when the assessment year has expired already, in that case, the DCT has to issue a notice under section 93 asking for submission of the return by the assessee. So here, there are other conditions for issuance of notice under section 93, that is under subsection 1 of section 93. It is said here, if based on the information from an audit, assessment, or any other proceeding under this ordinance, or from any other source, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes has reason to believe that any sum payable by an assessee under this ordinance has escaped assessment in any assessment year, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes may issue a notice in the form specified by the board upon the assessee requiring him to file for the relevant assessment year within the time as specified in the notice a return of his income along with the applicable statement and documents, and pay on or before the filing of the return the sum that has been escaped payment. Okay, the thing is that whenever a person has escaped assessment or escaped some source of income, and if it comes to the notice of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, so it could be understood by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes because of the audit or because of any other information given to him by the Inspector of Taxes or by an officer of another circle. So in any way, it could come to him. And the fact is that the income has escaped from assessment. So that is the main issue. If the income has escaped an assessment, in that case, he will issue a notice under subsection 1. So when he can issue notice under subsection 1, and what is the procedure? A notice under subsection 1 may be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes at any time where for the relevant assessment year, no return was filed and no assessment was made. So let us suppose in 1994-95, there was an income of an SSC which was not shown by him. He escaped that income. He did not submit the return to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for that assessment year, 94-95. So it's a long time ago, 94-95. So whether notice under subsection 1 of section 93 could be issued, that is a question. So the section says, the Income Tax Ordinance says that yes, anytime notice under subsection 1 of section 93 could be issued, anytime when you have escaped assessment, you had income, but you did not show it, and also the assessment was not made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So two conditions you have to remember. Number one condition is that you did not submit the return, you escaped the income, and the DCT also could not make the assessment. So assessment was not made and return was not submitted. These are the two major conditions. And in that case, you can issue the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 anytime. So as I said to you, that the concerned person escaped an assessment for the assessment year 1994-95. So it is possible. If it comes to the notice of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes now, he can issue a notice under subsection 1 of section 93 asking for a return from him. It is possible and it is lawful. And again, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year, where for the relevant assessment year, no return was filed, but assessment is completed. So let us suppose another scenario. Another scenario is that the return was not filed by the SSC, but assessment was completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Maybe assessment was completed under section 84. That means best judgment assessment, what is called ex parte assessment. So when assessment was made, but return was not filed, then from the end of the assessment year, within 6 years time, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So let us suppose that for the assessment year 94-95, the return was not submitted, rather the assessment was completed. So from the end of the assessment year, that is 30th June 1995, so it will be from 1st of July 1995, within 6 years time, the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 could be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes if it is found out by him that one source of income was escaped from assessment. So 6 years time, this is a time limitation. And again, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year in any other case. So in any other case means if you see that return was submitted, an assessment was completed, but some sort of concealment was found out. Concealment was there, which means that all sources of income of the SSC were not taken into account at the time of assessment made by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So in such a situation also, within 6 years from the end of the relevant assessment year. So if the relevant assessment year is 94-95, then from the 30th day of June 1995, within 6 years time, a notice under subsection 1 of section 93 could be issued by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So these are the conditions under which or for which a notice could be issued. And there is a limitation for assessment as well. That means when to complete the assessment. It is said under section 94. An assessment under section 93 may be made within 2 years from the end of the year in which the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued. So as we discussed the issuance of the notices under subsection 1 of section 93, now notice is issued by the DCT under subsection 1 of section 93. But when to make the assessment or when to complete the assessment? He has to complete the assessment within 2 years from the end of the year in which the notice under subsection 1 of section 93 was issued by him. So it is also important for you. Okay, then. Section 81. This is something important for you to understand when assessment under 81 is completed. And why should the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes complete the assessment under section 81? So if I ask you a question that what is the quickest way of recovery of taxes, or how to collect the taxes within the shortest possible time, there might be a question like that. So if there is a question like that, we have to answer it. Then if you say that, okay, if assessment is completed, then tax could be recovered quickly. But when assessment is completed, how to complete the assessment? The question comes in. If you complete the assessment under section 82, it is okay. So when it is completed under section 82, that means assessment on correct return or assessment under section 82 double with that means universal self-assessment scheme. So when you want to submit the return under universal self-assessment scheme, it means that you deposit all the amount of tax along with the return. So that is already recovered. But if the DCT wants to make the assessment under section 83, then what happens? He has to issue a notice and the SSC would be heard by him. That means hearing has to take place and the SSC has to submit documents, evidences, bank statements, books of accounts, etc. in support of his return. So maybe 2-3 hearings should be needed. And the city will make the assessment after examining all the books of accounts, evidences, documents, etc. But when assessment would be made by him and the assessment order would be communicated to the SSC may not be satisfied with the order passed by him. So if he is not satisfied with the order passed by the DCT, then the demand that has been made by the DCT as tax will not be paid by the SSC. Rather, he would prefer an appeal against his order to the Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes. So when he prefers an appeal, the Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes would take some time in order to dispose of the case. And when he gives the judgment, it will be communicated to the DCT, and DCT will revise the assessment order. But DCT may not be satisfied with the order given by the Appellate Joint Commissioner. So in that circumstance, the DCT may prefer a second appeal to the Appellate Tribunal against the order passed by the Appellate Authority. So what happens? The Appellate Tribunal will take some time, and of course they will hear the case, and there will be arguments in favor of the SSC and also in favor of the department. And in that circumstance, another order will be issued by the tribunal, and the tribunal will communicate the order to the DCT for revising the assessment order under section 159. So after that, the SSC would be required to pay the taxes. But as I said to you before, that whenever a law question comes, and if the SSC is not satisfied with the tribunal order, in that case, he can also prefer an appeal to the High Court Division of the Supreme Court. So what happens now? It has become a lengthy procedure. You have to spend a number of years maybe in order to collect the tax from the SSC. So it is not the quickest way to recover taxes from the SSC. So what is the quickest way? This is what I have said is with regard to assessment to be made under section 83. But if you make the assessment under section 84, that is also cumbersome. Cumbersome means this is also not undisputed. That is also disputed. And the similar system of preferring appeals could take place. So the most important way or most important method to recover taxes is assessment to be made under section 81, which is called provisional assessment. Although provisional assessment is not the final assessment, but provisional assessment can enable you to recover taxes. So what is that? Provisional assessment under section 81. That means you have submitted a return showing an income of taka 20 lakhs and you have paid taxes, say 20,000, which is not the actual amount of tax that is needed to be paid by you. But your income is 20 lakhs, that is for sure. And if you say that my income is 20 lakhs taka, it means that your admitted liability should be the tax on this 20 lakhs taka. So the DCT will assess the income, taking this into account. That means he will not enhance it, rather he will accept it. The income you have shown would be accepted by the DCT. And if he accepts your income, in that case, he will be issuing a demand notice asking you to submit the, to deposit the required amount of tax. And you cannot prefer an appeal. The SSC is not entitled to preferring an appeal against the order of the DCT. So what he shall do? He shall have to pay the taxes. But when the final assessment would be made after a few months or after a few days, whatever it is, in that case, the total amount of tax would be determined again, and the income will also be determined. If the income does not seem to be correct, in that case, the DCT will be able to enhance the income, or he will enhance the income on the basis of the previous record. And of course, after examination of necessary documents and bank statements, books of accounts, etc. So, provisional assessment, when made by the DCT, it enables him to recover the taxes which are treated as admitted liability by the SSCs. So that is the quickest way of recovering taxes from the SSCs. That will help him to fulfill the budget, because each and every circle has been given a budget or allocated a budget, and the budget has to be collected by the DCT, and he has to take all the measures in order to realize the amount of taxes or the budget amount which has been allocated to him. So that is the section 81. Okay, so there is another section which you have to remember, which is called 82D. 82D is for, spot assessment. Why spot assessment is needed? Spot assessment is needed because you will sometimes find that SSCs are operating in different areas, maybe in markets, etc. But they are not paying taxes or they are not included in the tax net. So it means that the income tax department is not getting the So let us suppose that the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes has got 1,000 SSCs in his circle under his jurisdiction. So he may think that the number of SSCs under my jurisdiction is not sufficient enough to realize a handsome amount of tax. So he has to increase the number of the SSCs, that means the taxpayers. How to do that? He can go to different areas under his jurisdiction. Say, for example, the Eastern Plaza in Dhaka City. So it might be under his jurisdiction. So he can go to the Eastern Plaza in order to see for himself how many shop owners are paying taxes who are under the tax net. So if he goes to the area, that is the market, he can find out so many small shops are there and they are not paying taxes to the government. So in that case, what he can do? He can just make the assessment on the spot. That means on the basis of the turnover. And he will see the stock in the shop. And on the basis of the stock, he can estimate the turnover. And turnover would be treated as sale. So that's why he can just calculate the gross profit, which is an average rate of gross profit for such business, and then arrive at the net profit. And he can ask for payment of the tax. And in that case, he will issue a notice to the shop owner asking him to pay the taxes. The shop owner can pay taxes on the spot, and the receipt which is given to him would be treated as assessment order. So in that way, the TIN certificate would also be issued, and they will come under the net of the income tax. So that is the way how you can make the assessment. And that is under section 82D, which is called spot assessment. One thing to remember by you is that, as I said to you, that provisional assessment would be made under section 81. So when you make the provisional assessment, it should be made with the start of the assessment year, but not on the first day of July. It is after the first day of July. But I do not understand why it is said like that. First day of July, you can also make the assessment. It is possible. But here in law, it has been said that the assessment could not be made on the first day of July. Rather, it should be made after the first day of July. But there is no point in that, in my opinion. So meaning that when 30th day of June expires, it means that you can submit the return. You can submit the return on the first day of July, and the assessment could also be made on the first day of July. But it has been said in law that the assessment could be made after first day of July. It means that you can submit the return on the first day of July, and on the 2nd July, the assessment could be made, or any day. when you submit the return. That is possible. So this point is important for you to remember. Okay, I believe we have covered the synopsis, and if you have any question to ask, you can ask me the question. If you have any question, you can also ask me the question or your point of confusion in the next class. That is also possible, but you can also ask me now if you want to. Anything to know?
No, sir, no questions from our side.
Okay. So,
Sir, I have one question, sir. A question is, sir, individual return and corporate return, there is a specific different required, sir.
yes, there are differences because individual return is submitted on certain dates and the corporate return is submitted on other dates. So this is different. We have discussed individual returns, not corporate returns.
Thank you, sir.
Corporate returns we can discuss another day, no problem.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, then thank you very much for your attention. Hope to see you in the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.